an honor to be here. And Megan's talk evoked a lot in me as a recent learner and someone who's intimately involved in learning science. So my question for Megan is about the temporality and the duration of awe. In my experiences in medical school, I found myself constantly feeling like micro awe while I was in the classroom learning. And then that was quickly overshadowed by the stress and the, reckoning with the fact that I had to now regurgitate all of this information for an exam. So in my opinion and in my experience, I think the awe would have been much more potent if we had spaces and opportunities to really delve and talk about the awe with professors and colleagues. I'm wondering if any of that came up in your interviews with scientists, just about like how long it takes to really capitalize on that awe, if that came up in any of the interviews.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. This is obviously, as an educational researcher, something that I care a lot about, is how do we actually cultivate the conditions in learning environments for awe. And interestingly, the participants in this study described the interview experience as a sort of intervention, an opportunity for reflection. So if I had to do it again, I would have probably designed the study with a follow-up interview after they had that first interview, because even by the end of the hour that I spent with them, people were saying, oh, actually, now I'm thinking about this so much differently, having had this conversation with you. And so I wonder if, a week, a month later, if they were still thinking about it, if they were noticing the awe more and what they would have said. So I think that taking that time to reflect is a critical piece of it. And in another study that I conducted for my dissertation that was focused on adolescent science learners in actual summer science programs, there was more of that metacognitive, thinking about your thinking piece built into it. They were in instructional environments where educators were prompting them to reflect. But for they were younger, so in some ways they might not have been able to articulate their awe experiences quite as well, but I did see them doing more of that pausing and reflecting, but still I found that most of the reflecting on the awe experiences was about what does this mean for me and not what does this mean for the way I interact with the world. So they thought about, wow, I'm part of this global phenomenon, these scientific systems that I'm studying. I'm a participant in that, but they didn't extend that to say, so I'm going to change my behaviors to interact more kindly with my environment, to be a better ecological citizen, that kind of thing. And so I think even more explicit prompting for them to be able to transfer their understanding from that awe experience to the implications is necessary. And so I think building in that space for reflection and repeated reflection with some specific cueing of what does this mean for me? What does this mean for how I go about the world is really an important piece of it.
Really interesting. It's just making me think if we could be more explicit about inducing awe in our science learners, in our medical students, and our medical trainees, perhaps we would have more pro-social physicians and healthcare workers. And so really just linking your research with Claire is very fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.